And good morning. Good morning. Welcome. Glad you are here. So I've got a great fun message for you this morning. As I mentioned in the opening dialogue, I said that we're going to talk about building a powerful mindset. And I firmly believe that the biggest challenge that real estate agents have is maintaining the right attitude or mindset. And it's not because we're in what I believe is one of the most difficult professions that anybody can sign up for. I do believe that, by the way. It's a very difficult business that we're in because we deal with people. And I can't think of anything more volatile than people, so unpredictable. But the real issue is that our attitude is something that as real estate agents, that we deal with, not because of the business, but because we're human beings. And the biggest challenge that human beings have is, in fact, their attitude or their mindset. And so, it's difficult to do this business and to perform at the level that we need to have the confidence to come to the table to ask people for 6-7% commission when they've got all of those other choices out there and not have the right attitude or not have a strong sense of self-worth or a sense of self-confidence. And so it's one of the things that you will hear the leadership within this organization talk about all the time. It is the topic. That mindset and communication are the two most common things that I talk about every single day in every conversation that I have with almost everybody, because they are so important. And not only because they're so important, because everybody is facing challenges with them. And so I just want to make certain that as we're moving into the final 79 days, believe it or not, we got 79 days left in this year. I feel like it's still a new year and the year is almost over. But we've got 79 days. And man, I want to make certain that for all of us, that we're finishing the year strong and really setting ourselves up for great momentum in the first quarter of 2021. Here's a question for you. I asked this question of a group of coaches. I was actually coaching yesterday. And I asked the question, pre-COVID, when it was just discovered and it looked like we were going into a lockdown and it was announced that we were going to need to quarantine for a period of time, I just want you to think about what your attitude was and what you believed was going to happen as the days turned into weeks, turned into months. What was your belief about what was going to happen to the economy and to the real estate market? I remember a lot of people saying that, well, the market's going to crash, and they were concerned that buyers and sellers were going to sit on the sidelines and weren't going to do anything because they couldn't. That there would be like this apoplectic seizure, that people would be like deer caught in the headlights, and there was nothing that we could do except wait for the Mack truck to hit us. And here we are months later. I won't say we're post-COVID, we're certainly not, but we're certainly not where we were in March, April, and May. And isn't it interesting to see what's happening in the real estate market? I know agents who are making more money this year than they ever have, and I'm talking high production, and a real estate market that I don't know that any of us would have honestly predicted. I mean, I didn't believe that the market was going to crash, but I didn't believe that it was going to be doing what it's doing right now. I mean, where we're seeing homes that are getting 10, 15, 20, 25 offers that are going for $50,000, $100,000, $150,000 above list price. It's crazy. So I just, the whole idea of attitude and really ultimately what we focus on is really important. So I brought this morning a prop. You can tell what that is. It is an apple. I don't know what kind it is. Those of you who are apple aficionados may know. Let me see. Oh, it's a Honeycrisp. It's organic. Because I like to eat organic fruit. This is one of the things that I eat every day in the morning for breakfast, part of my breakfast. But why did I bring this? I brought this because I want to just share with you this metaphor. When life squeezes you, right, what comes out? And as I ask that question, I want you to think about this. If I were to squeeze this apple, this organic apple, or I was to press it, I guess that's the more appropriate term for an apple. Apples are pressed to get out what is in it. But when we press an apple, what comes out of it? And of course, the answer is what? Somebody give me in the chat line. I want to know that you're all listening. When we press an apple, what comes out of an apple? Yeah, that's right. It's Thank you. It's juice. It's apple juice. That's what comes out of an apple. And of course, the question is why? Why does juice, Kyle Russell said cider. Yes, that's even better. I like that, especially some hot cider this time of the year. But why does apple juice or juice come out of an apple when it's pressed? And of course, the answer is because that's what's inside of it. See, what's inside an apple is apple juice, and so forth. There, when it's pressed, that's what comes out of it. So the question I have for you is this. I love this metaphor. When you get pressed, or when life squeezes you, when the business squeezes you, when the economy squeezes you, when your clients squeeze you, right? When you are under a great deal of pressure, what comes out of you? Is it good stuff or bad stuff? See, I would say that when this thing gets pressed, good stuff comes out of it. It's sweet, it's nutritious, it's refreshing. Kyle says gushy stuff. I love it, Kyle. Yeah, well, there is that too, right? I think if we're all squeezed just enough, that gushy stuff would come out. But what comes out of you when you're pressed? Is it good stuff or bad stuff? See, for a lot of people, the bad stuff comes out. There's anger that comes out. You know, when things aren't going our way, when the world seems to be against us, we get angry, we blame, we become the victim. There's hatred, there's hostility. Then we get this attitude of unwillingness. It's just we don't take the steps necessary to get out of that circumstance. And then there are those in the same set of circumstances, the same economy, the same market, the same business. When they're under pressure, good things come out. Patience and perspective and responsibility, accepting responsibility, not for the economy, not for the market, whatever those two things are doing, not for who's in the White House or out of the White House, not accepting responsibility for any of that, but just simply accepting responsibility for their attitude, their willingness to accept that responsibility. And also not taking things too seriously. I mean, guys and gals, none of us is going to get out of this whole journey alive. We're all destined to expire at some point. And I believe we take ourselves way too seriously. We do. I am so much better at that than I used to be, but I still take myself way too seriously. So my question again for you is that when you are squeezed or pressed, what comes out of you? And if you take an honest assessment and you look at what has happened over the last several months and you look at the way you've responded, if the bad stuff came out and not the good stuff, I guess then the question is, why? What causes the different reactions of the good stuff coming out versus the bad stuff? And I believe it comes down to this. And I want you to just think about that for a second. What is the difference? What makes the distinction between the good stuff coming out and the bad stuff? I believe the answer is it's what we focus on. It's about focus. So if you're taking notes, man, I would write that down, because for the next several hours as you work today, the single most important thing you can do is to have the right focus. And this week, the most important thing you can do is to have the right focus. And for this month, and for the rest of this year, and for the rest of your life, it comes down to, guys and gals, ladies and gentlemen, your focus, what you're going to focus on. Now, there are 4 key things that I believe that we should be focused on every single day. And what is interesting is that as we've spent now together about 19 minutes, we have already had you work on a couple of things that I believe are keys to you maintaining the right attitude. In other words, maintaining a powerful mindset or having the confidence that is necessary to deal with the crazy people in this crazy business that we've all signed up to be in and to help. The first thing that I want you to write down as it relates to maintaining a powerful mindset or to having confidence is to write down the word clarity. See, if you want to have a great mindset, if you want to have a great attitude, you're going to have a greater degree of clarity. I believe that the average person is disastrous in this area. They don't have great clarity about several things, the least of which is purpose. So my question for you is this: if we're talking about confidence coming from clarity, which I hope you buy off on, I mean, just think about this for a second. Think about anything in your life that you're good at. Do you like doing it? And my suspicion is that if you're good at it, you like doing it. Now, it may have been at a point of time in your life where you were not good at that thing, and therefore you did not enjoy it. What is interesting is that as we get better at something, we tend to enjoy it more. Or if it's for prospecting, for example, we may not dislike it as much. I don't know many people who absolutely say, I love to prospect, but there are a few people, and that's why we reserve the straitjackets for them. But I just want you to think about this. The things that you are good at in life, that you really enjoy, right? Those two experiences go hand in hand. You do those things a lot and you experience joy or a sense of confidence in doing those things. And as a result, you tend to do more of those things. So when we talk about confidence, we talk about clarity. If you can, whoever has got their phone off mute, if you can put it on mute, it's just difficult to talk when I'm competing with the noise. Thank you. So clarity's got to come from several things, right? Clarity of purpose, clarity of your intentions, clarity of the process that you engage in, and then clarity of your desires. So here's what I want to challenge you with. Do you have clarity in those arenas? I want you to write those words down. Clarity of purpose, clarity of intention, clarity of process, and clarity of desires. See, what I know is this, that if you are clear about what your purpose is in life, what it is that you're working long-term to accomplish, here's the question I would have you ask relative to that. How will you know that you lived a fulfilling life at the end of your days? How will you know that? See, I believe that if you can answer that question now, you'll live a fulfilling life, because you will shift your focus to that. It's more often than not during the course of your days, your weeks, your months, your years. If you acknowledge what will create a fulfilling life for you, so at the end of your days, you can say, yes, I lived a fulfilling life, that you will in fact go about your business on a daily basis, achieving that, doing that, because we get what we focus on, guys and gals. So I want you to think about that. How will you know that your life is fulfilling? You know,
Hey, John, you're muted.
Thank you. Don't know how that happened, but thank you, Russ. Your intentions today, what is it that you said you were going to accomplish? See, one of the reasons that we have you go through that exercise is because those who don't have a vision, those who aren't clear about what it is that they want, are those who are lost. One of my favorite statements from one of my favorite mentors, Zig Ziglar, is this: there are those who are wandering generalities, and then there are those who are meaningful specifics. Meaningful specifics are really clear about their purpose, about their intention, about process, about their desires. And then wandering generalities, that describes the average person. And Kat, we're going to get to those four things. We're going to go one at a time. So right now we're talking simply about clarity. So most people wander through life, ladies and gentlemen, without understanding their purpose, without understanding on a daily basis what their intentions are and what they really want to accomplish that's consistent with the life that they want to live. Or clarity of process. There's so much about this business that is difficult, from prospecting to objection handling, to just the process of escrow, all of the things that we need to know. I get it, it's difficult. So the more we focus on practicing those things and getting better at it, the more confident we get. It's a simple and beautiful relationship. So all I'm asking you to do, one of the cornerstones of a great mindset or confidence, is to become more clear. In fact, write this statement down. With clarity comes power. See, I challenge you to become more clear when it comes to your purpose. How will you know that you lived a fulfilling life? Start to define now what things you would want to say as an old man or an old woman, looking back at your decades that you lived, hopefully the century that you lived, and say, I lived a fulfilling life because of, fill in the blank, because of these things. And then make certain that you go about your days accomplishing that, focusing on that. So guys and gals, number one, to build a confident mindset, to have a great attitude, we have to focus on and have to have great clarity. The second thing that builds a great mindset or builds a great attitude is integrity. I want you to write that word down, integrity. This is such an important word. Integrity. Integrity, yes, to others. It's important that we keep our word. I mean, the statement of my word is my bond, that you say what you are going to do and then you follow through with that. It's really important, setting expectations, and we meet those expectations, whether it's with our intimate partner or our children, grandchildren, our friends, family members, or our clients, or any human being that we come in contact with, that we have integrity, meaning that when we say we're going to do something, we do it. But then there is integrity to ourself, which I think is most important, because you can't have integrity with others if you don't have it with yourself. And really what this comes down to, ladies and gentlemen, is this word called standards. So I want you to think about that. I want to ask you a question for just a second. Let's slow down for just a second. And I want to ask you, what are your standards? What are your standards as it relates to life? And the best way to drill down into that and really come up with some specific answers is, what are your standards as it relates to your relationships? You know, what are your expectations? What do you expect of others? And what do you expect of yourself in the relationships you engage in? Both those personal, intimate relationships as well as the other relationships. What are your standards? As it relates to your health, what are your standards? You know, your mental, your physical, your emotional, your spiritual. What are your standards? See, I think it's important that we recognize what our standards are. And here's something that's really critical to this point. Whether we're talking about standards in our relationships or standards in our health or standards in our business, the real question isn't what are the standards? In other words, what do we say they are, but rather what do we do? See, my standards, your standards are not what we say they are, but they're rather what we do on a daily basis. So one of the things I want to challenge you to do is, if you want to increase your standards, improve your standards, be really clear about what it is that you say that you want versus what you're actually doing. And when there is a gap between those two things, that we have to be honest with ourselves to say, I say that that's my standard, but I'm actually living to this level, a lower level. So therefore, I've got to be clear about this. See, it goes back to the clarity thing. I've got to be clear about what it is that I am committed to. What are my standards? The more clear you are about what you say your standards are, the more consistently you can behave on a daily basis with and be true to those standards. Look, guilt to me, I have to tell you, guilt is a gift. It's a gift. The reason is, it's like that your dashboard, you know, the idiot lights that come on that will tell you that your engine needs service or it's time to change the oil. It's like, hey, pay attention, I need assistance here, right? Well, guilt's the same thing. It's the dashboard in your life that tells you something is wrong, something is amiss, you need to go in for maintenance. And usually what it is this: guilt is nothing more than an individual having a set of standards that they are living below. And as a result, the guilt light turns on. I believe that's a gift, because it gives us an opportunity to recognize that we're living below our standards and have the opportunity to change. So number one, confidence comes from clarity of purpose, intention, process, and desires. The second is integrity. Confidence comes from integrity to others, integrity to ourselves, integrity to the standards that we say that we believe in, and then also just simply recognizing that at the end of the day, that man, when we're living below it, that guilt becomes a gift. It becomes a gift that allows us to transition to behaving the way in which we say that we want to live that fulfilling life. Now, the third thing is this, and we've already done this morning, but I'm going to challenge you that I'm going to say this, that spending a few minutes here at Morning Ascent together and writing in your journal is not enough time to recognize your gratitudes. See, number three is gratitude. What I know is this, that you get beat up mentally and emotionally every day by all sorts of sources. The things you read, watch, listen to, the people you associate with, it is a constant battle. And so therefore, we have to constantly pay attention to what it is that we have to be grateful for, because otherwise it's easy to become very negative, to become angry, to blame, to become a victim, right? To not take responsibility and to blame our experience, our behavior, our emotions, our thoughts on what's going on out there externally. Man, I'm just here to say that if we can take the time to be conscious consistently of what it is that we have to be grateful for, we will do what the average person fails to do. See, the greatest extinguisher of fear is gratitude. So I challenge you to think about this. If you woke up this morning not feeling confident, feeling less than powerful, not feeling excited to get up and do your job, to go out and talk to people, because if you do that, you're going to live the life that you want, because it will cause you to grow. You'll earn the money that you need to go have the freedom to do what it is that you want. If you didn't wake up that way, I can tell you one of the primary reasons is that you failed to recognize what it is that you have to be grateful for. So one of the things I want to challenge you to do right now is to look at the 3 pillars. Number 1, your relationships. Number 2, your health. And then number 3, your business. I'm going to challenge you right now to think about just one thing in each one of those areas that you can be grateful for. Just one. And I promise you, if you were to take that one thing from each one of those arenas or those areas and focus on those, I promise you, your level of fear and your level of low confidence or lack of confidence will dissipate. And what will happen is that you will become more focused and more confident. It's inevitable. It's a beautiful relationship. Really, all this is about, guys and gals, is just simply shifting your focus. And how quickly can you shift your focus? Just like that. So if you can shift your focus with just a fraction of a second, it proves to us that we can also then therefore shift our mindset, our attitude, and our level of confidence. That's how quickly you can go from not being confident to being confident. And some of you might be saying, no, that's not possible. Yes, it is. The challenge is that people don't believe that because they're so well practiced at having a lack of confidence, at being less than powerful, of not believing, and so therefore maintaining all of those negative attitudes and emotions. Again, having that attitude of anger, of blame, of being a victim, all of those things, most people are well practiced at, and it's easier to believe that than to believe this. See, the pessimist will say that nobody knows enough to be an optimist. That you can't know anything about the future to say that it's going to be good. You can't. And so more often than not, it makes sense to be a pessimist. I mean, who could have ever imagined that 2020 would be the year that it is, the pandemic, the economy, and the election, and all the attitudes, the protests, the riots, all of that, right? I mean, nobody wanted that. The pessimist would say, see, nobody knew enough to be an optimist. It would make no sense. Well, let me just counter that by saying this, that nobody knows enough to be a pessimist. Both statements are true. Nobody knows enough to be an optimist, and nobody knows enough to be a pessimist. So if both statements are true, then why don't you just simply find yourself being the optimist? Because if nobody knows enough to be a pessimist or to be an optimist, why don't you just simply choose to be the optimist? And the reason is most people lack clarity, they lack integrity to their standards, and they do not focus on the things that they have to be grateful for. So I challenge you again to think about the things that you have to be grateful for in your relationships, in your health, and in your business. Even if your business isn't where you want it to be, I guarantee you that there are things in your business that you could be grateful for. You just simply need to get into the habit of being grateful, of focusing on those things, looking for those things, identifying those things, and not being the average person who is always looking for the problems, the challenges, and looking for people to commiserate with them so they can feel good about their miserable life. Because that's what the average person does. You know it and I know it. And that is not who you are or who I am. It's why we're in the company that we're in. That's why we do the things that we do. That's why we're in this Zoomcast together, because that is not who we are. And we got to be careful on a daily basis to make sure that we don't slip into that mode of living, that attitude. The final thing as it relates to confidence is this. It's contribution. So we've got clarity, we've got integrity, we've got gratitude, and then we've got contribution. Guys and gals, this is about you and me getting out of our own heads. See, I lived downtown LA for a couple of years. I just moved from there. But being down there in downtown LA was a very interesting experience. One of the things that I will remember the most is the amount of homelessness there, the number of people who live on the streets there. And what is so interesting is to watch how those people live. They live on a moment-to-moment basis, just simply focused on their survival. It's about survival. Constantly looking for change, to scrounge up, to scrimp, to save, to simply go buy some food or something to drink. And then spending their day trying to find a place that they can camp out for the night. What is interesting is that in the 2 years that I lived there, and in fact, my entire life, I have never had a homeless person walk up to me and say, "It looks like you're having a tough day or a tough moment. How could I help you?" Now, look, I'm not blaming them, and I'm not being critical of them. I'm just saying that they don't have an opportunity to get outside of their own head because they're simply focused on their own survival. Well, guys and gals, fortunately for you or for me, that is not our reality. We all had an opportunity to sleep in a warm bed in a climate-controlled home. And here we are having the benefit of modern technology, having this conversation, not about survival, but about thriving, about getting to the level of self-actualization, where we can actually go from being worried about our own survival, but rather than shifting our focus to helping other people and helping them get to a higher level of living. See, if you want to be more confident, one of the first things that you should do is stop focusing on your own challenges and start asking this question: whose life can I impact positively today? See, if you didn't wake up today with a positive mindset, one of the best things you can do right now is to simply identify somebody whose life you're going to improve today, or whose life you're going to make a difference in today, whose face you're going to put a smile on. Just with intention, identify someone and somehow that you are going to impact them. And I promise you that if you do that, what you'll do is you'll leave behind the problems and you'll start focusing on the solutions, including accomplishing your intentions, one of which will be, whose life can I impact today? And it may be the faceless seller or the faceless buyer, but it could be somebody you love, or it could be a stranger. Doesn't matter. But this is all of these things: clarity, integrity, gratitude, contribution. All of those things create confidence, but we have to focus on them. This is about focus. So let me just share with you this. It's a great metaphor. I love metaphors because you can really pull out principles. So imagine that I am at my home. I just got home. It's dark outside. I walk in, shut the door, and as I shut the door and flip on the light, all of a sudden, all the lights go off, and I stumble, and I had my keys in my hand, but I dropped them. I heard them drop, and I hear them bounce. So I start looking around. It's dark. I can't see. I don't have my phone on me. I left it in the car. So I'm looking around, trying to find my keys. I can't find them. I get down on the floor, trying to feel around, and for the life of me, it's unbelievable. I heard them drop. They're supposed to be right here, and they're not here. Well, I look out the window, and I see out the window that there's a street light, which I think is odd, but I'm looking on one side of the street, all the lights are off, but on the other side of the street, the lights are on. So I get up, I open my door, go out to the street, and I start looking around the lamppost where there is light on the opposite side of the street. And I'm looking around, and my neighbor comes out because their power's off as well. And they say, "John, what are you doing?" And I said, "Well, obviously the power is off, and I dropped my keys in the house, and I'm looking for them." And my neighbor looks at me and says, "Wait a minute. You dropped your keys in your house, and you're out here looking for it?" And I said, "Well, yeah, because this is where the light is." And of course, I know that seems like a nonsensical scenario, because it is. It is. It would be dumb to look for my keys out under the lamppost because that's where the light is. That's not where I dropped them. My keys are back in the house, and I'm going to have to find some light to find them. But my point is this. See, when you change the way you look at things, the things you look at change. The keys are there. They are there. But I have to illuminate light on them. I have got to see them there, not hope that they're going to be where they're not. When you change the way you look at things, guys and gals, the things you look at change. When you change the way you look at things, your purpose, your intention, your process, your desires, when you change the way you look at those things, the things you look at change. your integrity, your standards, your integrity to others, to yourself, your gratitude, what you have to be grateful for in your relationships, your health, in your business. And then shifting your focus from yourself to others. That when you change the way you look at things and you shift your focus, everything will change for you. Look, guys and gals, the world is not controllable. It's not. You cannot control it, neither can I. As much as we would like to, as much as we try, it is futile. You're not going to be able to do it. The world is not controllable, but your attitude is. I'm going to just say this again. No one knows enough to be an optimist, and no one knows enough to be a pessimist. Both statements are true. It's just simply a choice. So my question for you is, what do you choose? Look, your attitude, your mindset, those things are not by chance. I want you to recognize that when you wake up every single day, and there are days where you don't feel confident, you don't have a great attitude, I can tell you that is not chance. That happens because of this formula. Your thoughts lead to your emotions, and your emotions lead to your actions, and your actions lead to your results. So if you do not like your attitude, or you don't have the confidence that you want, I promise you, it is about what you are focusing on. And if you will focus on creating greater clarity, if you will focus on your standards and having greater integrity consistent with those, and if you will be grateful for what it is that you do have to be grateful for in your life, because we all do, and if you stop focusing on your own challenges and start going out and contributing to other people, I promise you, your confidence will go up. It's inevitable. It's a law of nature. It's something that you cannot prevent if you will just simply do it. Clarity, clarity, clarity. It is something that we need to work on. It is what we need to focus on. Integrity, having consistency in what we say we want and the way we are going to live, and in actually doing that, following through. And then being grateful, guys and gals. There are so many people that I could point out to, stories that I could share with you where people are going through some of the most difficult times, if not the most difficult times of their life, and yet they are pushing forward and they're going out and contributing to other people. So please recognize that you have such, it's unlimited potential. It's unlimited. Your creator, my creator, our creator has infused in us, has programmed us for greatness that we don't even comprehend. We are not going to unlock that if we don't unlock our self-confidence, if we don't have a greater sense of self-worth. And these four things are the key to that. So hopefully, as you work about your day and weeks and months to come and years, that you focus on those four things, because those things, clarity, integrity, gratitude, and contribution, those things are controllable, whereas the world is not. So let's finish this up with some closing affirmations, and then let's go out there and have a great attitude and a great sense of self-confidence so we can go out and make a difference in the lives of other people, because that is why we are here. Okay, here we go.